Assume the worst, assume the least. Assume the worst about other people. You'll actually be wrong if you assume the worst about actually like many people. If you assume the worst, you probably usually be wrong. If you assume the best, you're likely also to be disappointed. So if you assume the best out of a person, you could be disappointed. And if you assume the worst, you probably be wrong. So you got to try to understand that it's going to be a median ground. Not everybody's perfect and not everybody's bad. So there's a balance in between. So instead of you being disappointed or being wrong, instead have your goal assume the least. Instead of conjuring up all other sorts of assumptions about someone else, invest time and energy in genuine understanding. It's pretty much impossible to just guess what people say, what they say, it's impossible to kind of guess why they saying what they say or why they do what they do. And it's also, you like wonder like why they vote the way they vote or why do they act the way they act. And different questions come to you about different people that you encounter in different personalities. After all though, even your own motivations are tricky sometimes. And we have to understand that about ourselves and about other people. Like I said, not everybody's perfect. So we're going to have our differences. We're going to have our conflict. And this sun got my shine. Shining. Got my forehead shining. But anyways, right? So after all, even your own motivation are tricky to understand. And you're much less able to get inside someone else's head, right? So we got to think about that. Like a lot of times you might have an opinion, you might want to sway somebody else's opinion, but it's going to be tough. So take care not to let your opinions be centered around baseless assumption. Like you assuming something because of a person action, or you're assuming something because a person made a mistake, or you're assuming something because the person emotion did not exactly rub you the right way. So you tend to have some assumption, right? Assumption of how it is. So make sure you take your opinions and you have like a centered basis for your opinion, centered around values and not just assumptions. Neither you nor life in general is well served by mistaken impressions. So you're gonna have mistakes that's happening in life, and we can't have it determine our life and have so much impression on our life, because that's how life is, right? And what happens, yes, making an assumption is quicker and easier in digging out of what's really going on, instead of trying the real true truth behind everything. We tend to go out and make an assumption, especially if the situation is unpredictable or if it's out of control. We tend to make an assumption of it, and it's not really serving either or at that time. So making an assumption is quicker and it's easier, but it's basically it's really not getting the true essence of what's going on or digging out what's really going on. But ultimately, the truth gives you far greater value than convenience, right? The truth gives you a far greater value than convenience. So it's best to be patient and wait out to find the truth, and be willing to let things go and accepting things that the way they are, right? And be willing to move on and be able to get through the adversity and the setbacks of the situation. People are much more complex and diverse than you'll be able to account for in a simple assumption. When it comes to what you think of others, seek to assume the least and to learn the most. So don't make an assumption. Don't have like in your mind that you expect this person to be a certain way, or you have certain expectations of the things that's going on in life, the people around you in life. Don't make an assumption that the assumption that you're expecting will happen. So it's best to be in the middle. Be in the middle, the yin and the yang. Try to balance both, right? Because not everything's gonna be perfect, and not all the time there's gonna be some kind of trouble. So yes, there will be trouble, and yes, there will be good times. You just gotta try to balance the two of them and make it make sense throughout this journey of life. So don't go don't go looking for the worst, and at the same time don't go assuming the best. Just assume what's gonna happen, assume that life is what happened, and don't even assume, just be aware that things will happen in life that we don't have any control of, so we just have to let it be, right? So don't assume the best, don't assume the worst, just assume in the middle, which is like assume the least. So if it's best, then it's best. If it's worse, then it's worse. Just make that assumption at the least. So once again, shout outs to the motivator, shout outs to Ralph Marston's, and shout outs to the forgot the name of that website. When I remember, I come back and I leave a comment. But shout outs to all of those that give me those gems and ideas that I come to try and formulate. I hope I'm not babbling too much, and I hope you got some ideas. I usually come on early morning, try to do some like early morning motivation, some early morning clarity of life before we go ahead and get the day started, or just having a idea of different things, being aware of different things, and having that awareness and being able to understand that things will happen, and if it's out of our control, then it has to just happen, right? Let it be, right? What happens, we'll let it be. And yeah, so don't try to assume the best, don't try to assume the worst, just assume the least and try to balance between the positive and the negative and continue your journey, all right? Talk to you later. Peace.